the slowest sports day of the year, so that means it is time for the 74th Annual Sporty Awards. All right, let's start things off with our first award, Superstar of the Year. Here are our nominees: Jason Tatum, David Pastrnak, Mac Jones, and Rafael Devers. Let's bring in the Academy.
Oh,
yes.
Wow, the Academy.
Very fancy, very fancy, everyone. We have Tom Giles, we have Breer, we have Amina Smith, and we are going to lead you through the Sporties. Okay, so who should be, Tom Giles, the Superstar of the Year? I think it's a two-horse race.
Yeah, it's
three.
It's Jason Tatum to me. The fact that he went from, maybe a top 15 player to now being considered a top 5 player, I think, by the end of the NBA Finals. That's where he got his team to the NBA Finals. And a lot of people want to maybe poke holes in the performance in the Finals, the Celtics against the Warriors. But to me, Jason Tatum right now ranks highest in his sport among any of the Boston athletes.
Anybody disagree?
I agree.
I don't disagree at all. I mean, Jason Tatum has taken a step further in his game. 3rd All-Star selection, also Eastern Conference MVP. I mean, all the accolades are there. Bert, I don't see anything wrong with Jason Tatum being a superstar.
I mean, I think so much of being a superstar is how you can elevate everybody around you. And I look at the other guys on the list, they're not close. Like Jason Tatum's the one guy who you can envision him being the best player on a championship team pretty easily.
All right, well, we asked the people, and the people have spoken. And your winner of Superstar of the Year is, in a landslide, Jason Tatum.
There it is.
Not a surprise. This award is, what are we doing here? The nominees: John Henry and the Red Sox refusing to pay Bogart's endeavors, the Bruins firing Bruce Cassidy but keeping Don Sweeney, and the Patriots relying on Matt Patricia and or Joe Judge to run the offense. So what are we doing here? Who is your winner, Breer? I think I know.
I would have to say that it would be the Patriots' decision not to go officially with an offensive coordinator with any sort of experience. And to me, it's all about the point of the Mac Jones' career that you're at. You're going into year 2. This is a critical time in his development. It just doesn't make sense. Like why you wouldn't bring Bill O'Brien back, why you wouldn't invest in Nick Caley. And I know why they're doing this. I just don't agree with the decision to do it because, again, it's just too critical a point in Mac Jones' development.
I say, Amina, if we want Mac Jones to be a superstar and unseat Jason Tatum, I don't know how you do it when you've got a former defensive coordinator and a guy who completely failed at his last job.
Yeah, I just absolutely don't get it either, Bert. I mean, I talked about it last week, and I said that if you have a quarterback going into his sophomore season and you're looking for him to take a step forward, you got to have somebody that's going to lead him in the right direction, especially because he had Josh McDaniels last season that he worked with, he was used to. Now Josh McDaniels has moved on, and now it's like Mac Jones has to listen to 3 different people to figure out what the offense is. And I feel bad for him, but we know it's going to be a lot on his plate for this upcoming season. I feel like he'll be able to handle it. But just like you said, Bert, having one person to lead your quarterback in the right direction, that's what you want.
And I just don't agree with the logic. I mean, that's the bottom line. Like I said, I know what the logic is. The logic is that Bill didn't want to have to fill this job a year from now if somebody stepped into it and all of a sudden knocked it out of the park. And that was the whole idea, not bringing Bill O'Brien back, was if he comes here and does a great job with Mac Jones, he's going to be a head coach somewhere else in a year. And with Nick Caley, too, the fact that Nick Caley didn't sign an extension, and Nick Caley is up after the season, and Nick Caley could wind up going to Vegas with Josh McDaniels because he's very close with McDaniels. They make the call to go with 2 guys who they know are going to be here long term. To me, if the byproduct of Nick Caley doing great or Bill O'Brien doing great is that they're gone at the end of the year, then everybody wins, and that's a good problem to have rather than rolling the dice with 2 guys who are really good coaches. Like, I do think that they're better than people around here have made them out to be the last few months, but don't have experience coaching that specific position that's so important.
Giles, something tells me not a lot of Red Sox are going to win a lot of awards.
No.
I just feel like the Patriots and the Celtics always trump them. But I think you could make a real case for John Henry and the Red Sox. Like, there is no reason. Listen, I'm not saying you have to pay both Xander Bogaerts and Rafael Devers. I understand Bogart's age plays into things. But the idea that you would not give, that you just let Rafael Devers test the open market and you would lose Bogaerts. And by the way, you might also lose Nate Eovaldi and JD Martinez. Like, to me, that's like professional malpractice.
So here's the thing, though. I look at these as what did I expect before these things happen, and when I reflect on them, how do I feel about them now? I'm really not that surprised with the Red Sox because this feels kind of like the direction that they were headed in with the addition of Chaim Bloom, and that's just the direction that they want to go with the franchise. The fact that the Bruins somehow, Bruce Cassidy, who got, I think, more out of his team than just about any coach in the NHL, did everything you could have asked him to do. The fact that he lost his job and that the GM kept his job. I thought, you know what, they might fire Bruce Cassidy because Don Sweeney's gone. No, Don Sweeney's still here and Bruce Cassidy's fired. That one, to me, I think is the what are we doing here?
You know, the more I think about it, the more of this is like, honestly, like you can talk about what the Bruins did with Cassidy, you can talk about what the Patriots have done, and philosophically you can disagree with them. I actually maybe have the biggest problem with the Red Sox not just stroking checks. You know what I mean?
Why are we penny pinching? Like, I just don't understand. We've been talking about this for the last 6 days, and it's just like, what's the situation here?
They want to buy an NBA team. You can't own a team in every single sport if you're paying stars. All right, so who won the award? Well, I alluded to it before. It's going to be hard for the Red Sox to win, but your winner is... Oh, yes. Joe Judge, Matt Patricia. We have the Breakout Performance. Our nominees are Robert Williams, Mac Jones, Jeremy Swayman, and Christian Barmore. We are not waiting around to reveal the answer on this one. Your winner in a blowout is Robert Time Lord Williams. And here is his #1 supporter accepting the award on his behalf, the one and only Chris Ford. Chris, what do you have to say on the behalf of your BFF?
So first off, I'm gonna get out my Robert Williams award here, my main Celtics bobblehead. That is actually Robert Williams with a clock on the bottom. It's fantastic. First off, can anyone track IPs on any of the voting? Because I might have submitted some votes on Rob's behalf. But it's nice to see that Rob's evolution is being appreciated by the masses. And if you want to quibble and say, why wasn't it Mac Jones or any of those other dudes, when they're playing in their biggest stage and being a key part of the #1 defense in the NBA or whatever their respective sport is, we can talk.
Anyone have an argument that someone else had a bigger breakout year this year than Robert? It is hard. Listen, my whole thing is those other guys, especially you look at a Barmore and a Mac Jones, those guys are rookies. So if we had a rookie of the year, I think I would probably give it to Mac Jones. But breakthrough performance, we were sort of waiting for Robert Williams to round into form. Like, I think Mac Jones, Giles, still has a breakthrough performance year in him.
He needs to.
I think that could be this year or the year after.
And he needs to as well. I think he was good last year. I think he was good compared to maybe what you expected him to be.
Good rookie year.
But we're grading him on a curve when he's a rookie too, and that's the other part of it. And if you look, like over the last 5-6 years in the NFL, Carson Wentz, pretty good in year 1, breakthrough year 2. Patrick Mahomes didn't play in year 1, breakthrough in year 2. Lamar Jackson finished strong in year 1, lots of questions, MVP of the league in year 2. And so I think a lot of the quarterbacks that have become superstars have broken through in year 2. So that's what you're looking for from Mac Jones. The real breakthrough isn't as a rookie. It's what you do going from year 1 to year 2 or year 2 to year 3.
The 4 biggest busts. Sale headlining the nominees, which include Jonnu Smith, Nick Foligno, and former Celtic Dennis Schroeder. Sale and Jonnu Smith, Amina, sort of headlining this list. Which of those two would you vote for?
I would say Jonnu Smith, 4 years, $50 million, 12.5 annual value guaranteed, and he only had 1 touchdown this past season. I mean, I'm just saying, you spend that much money on a player coming into New England, you expect more production out of him. I don't know, Bert, if it had more to do with just how they used him in the offense or, maybe him getting used to the offense in New England, but you expected so much more. I should say I expected so much more out of Jonnu Smith coming from Tennessee, coming here to New England, and it just really didn't pan out the way I thought it would.
I mean, one of the reasons why Tennessee didn't re-sign him is because he wasn't a traditional inline tight end, and you really do have to have a plan for him. And I think from that standpoint, this is always going to take time. Now, did they envision him going through his first year here the way that he did? No. But I think it was always going to kind of take some time for them to figure out what to do with him. And remember, part of this too is if you're putting him on the field with Hunter Henry, that means the third receiver isn't getting on the field. That means the fullback isn't getting on the field.
Can he bounce back? Do you trust that he can bounce back, Bert?
I think it depends on how much faith you have on Joe Judge
not a lot
and
of faith.
Patricia to come up with a plan for him. But I do think, so Joe the last couple of years worked in New York with a guy who I think is somewhat like this in Evan Ingram. So I think at the very least, Joe Judge worked with a player where, again, not a traditional tight end, somebody that you have to have a plan for, who, if you move him around enough and do enough with him, can be really dangerous, but you can't just sit him in one place.
So I think I'm mostly in agreement with Jonnu Smith. That dropped pass that led to the interception against the Saints. Like that just felt like the season you just figured out, okay, this is going to be a tough one for the Patriots. Chris Sale, though, I think the biggest bust is Chris Sale's rib. You know, I don't necessarily fault the guy for the injuries, but that injury really derailed his entire season. And then, of course, he had the fluky injury with broken pinky.
Well, let's reveal the winner. And I think this is like, you know, when a guy maybe is an all-pro or an MVP.
It's
you're
tough.
after
It's a little
because your
unfair.
winner
That's
is
really tough when you talk about injuries.
Because, he's battling injuries. He can't have
Okay,
any
let me-
control.
We'll just write rib across the screen.
I was going to say, let me
rib.
speak.
So not Chris Sale,
I
but
will
the
speak
rib.
on behalf, I think, of where Red Sox fans are probably going with this. This is a guy who, I mean, what this should be, the biggest like bust should be the Red Sox signing him to this deal. Like they signed him to a 5-year, $145 million extension. When they knew his arm was hanging by a thread, I don't blame him for turning it down, but he has had Tommy John surgery, so his elbow was busted. Now he's got the broken rib and the broken pinky. It's like one thing after another with him, and I think people are just fed up. The best rant or hot take, here are your nominees.
If there's traction and Kevin Durant goes to management, there is no better team out there than the Boston Celtics if you're the Brooklyn Nets to make this move.
Do you think that they would do that, where they would take Jaylen Brown and put it at the Celtics, that they would put him out there to get a Kevin Durant?
Okay. With the Celtics, yeah.
You think they would?
It's Durantula.
They've regained the ground they lost the last year and a half. But is that really long-term? Is that progress? If you're climbing a mountain and you slip and you climb back to where you were, did you climb to a point you weren't at before? I don't think so.
You are still skeptical of the Celtics, even after what they've done the last 2 nights.
Did we not learn this during the Brad Stevens era?
It just sounds so simplistic, but if you're in charge of drafting, don't suck at it.
If it was easy, everyone would do it.
No. It shouldn't be easy.
It should be
But this
easy.
is your job. This is your job. For a top basketball executive, you have to hit on draft picks. Hire staff, do whatever you want, but you got to hit on draft picks.
In 2017, Matt Patricia's last year here, they weren't a good defense at all. Patricia leaves. In 2018, they're an excellent defense. 2019, they're historically good for a while. Now, Matt Patricia has returned. And they are setting franchise records. Franchise. And I don't know what role he's got, but we got a common denominator in the house.
Jimmy Garoppolo's an average quarterback who's been propped up by a tremendous offensive system. Does he have the potential to be great? Are we going to be talking about him as one of the 3 best quarterbacks in the league with Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes and those types of players at that position? Not anytime soon, I don't think. He's better than he was last year, but he's not anywhere near an MVP candidate. Brett Favre called him the next Tom Brady. Relax.
Poor Phil. The Josh Allen take, that's not cool what they did.
We're going to reveal our winner, and then we're going to reveal who we think should have won. So your winner is Scal.
Okay.
And I think this is largely because maybe recency bias, but also, Scal, thank you so much. I'm accepting this award on your behalf for giving us something to talk about for the last 3.5 weeks when we might have just been in the dog days of summer before training camp, but instead we have had fodder. However, I don't know, guys. There were some other good ones in there. I mean, it's hard to go against. I mean, Chris Mannix was very passionate.
Yes, he was.
Tom Curran's just matter-of-fact hatred
Towards Matt Patricia?
Towards Matt Patricia. It's sort of
knows no
hard.
bounds.
And then Phil Perry's just so wrong. So wrong on so many levels. I don't know. Who do you pick?
I mean, the last
Curran. I'm going with Curran. Yep.
I'm going with Phil because, the last thing we saw from Josh Allen was one of the most impressive quarterback games of all time.
I don't think I've ever seen him for laugh as hard.
I go Chris Mannix because when you're in the middle of Chris Mannix in a rant, it's absolutely crazy.
Who is the coach of the year? Well, your nominees are Bill Belichick, Alex Cora, and Ime Udoka.
Where's Bruce?
Yeah, what's up with that?
Bruce, listen, I don't decide who goes into the category. So talk to the Academy about this, okay? Talk to the Academy. Let's bring in Chris Forsberg. Chris Forsberg, who is your coach of the year? I think I know the answer to this.
I don't have an Ime Udoka bobblehead, but I can think it's pretty clear. I'll give Ime this credit too, is that at the start of the season, especially when he was pretty harsh with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown and the Celtics were struggling, we all sat there and went, ugh. this guy know what he's doing? Is he pushing the buttons maybe a little bit too firm here early? But he had a vision, he had a plan, and it sort of all came together. And so credit that. I mean, think about how much pressure there is just coming into Boston. I know he's a first-year coach, and you're supposed to have like a little leeway, but he kind of got thrown right into it and had to figure out a way to push Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, and he did it. He got Marcus Smart to embrace his role. He got Rob to stay healthy and blossom. So for me, to keep with the basketball puns, it's a slam dunk. Ime, did his job remarkably, and I'm surprised he didn't get more consideration for the actual award in the NBA. And I think maybe this year, if the Celtics are as good as we expect during the regular season, we'll see him in the mix for that award.
Bert, some might argue that Bill Belichick is worthy because he drafted and then helped develop, along with Josh McDaniels, Mac Jones. And he also got a team that, was pretty putrid the year before, and then turned things around and got him back to the postseason. But I would argue that Bill Belichick might have been one of the worst coaches in town last year.
I think if you just look at him as a coach, he did a really good job. They managed the corner issue without Stephon Gilmore, which I thought was really impressive. Mac Jones, it goes without saying, they had to build two different offenses in the summer. I think Josh McDaniels deserves a lot of credit for that too. One for Cam Newton, one for Mac Jones. And then having Mac Jones ready to go as a rookie, integrating all the new pieces, getting as much as they did out of Matthew Judon. The problem is a lot of the personnel issues they had are whose fault? Yeah. So, I mean, that's sort of the issue is, like, you look at some of the issues the Patriots had and ultimately why they came undone at the end, and that falls at the feet of Bill Belichick. So I'm with Chris on this. I think it's Ime Udoka. And one of the main reasons why, one of the things I thought was so impressive, Amina, it's so easy when you're a first-time head coach to start to listen to everybody and what they're saying about you. And like, as harsh as he was in November and December about the young guys in this team and what we know about that league and how powerful the players are, for him to have faith in what he was doing and stick to his guns and then to get the results out of that group of players that he did, I thought was incredibly impressive.
I agree with you, Bert. Not only that, but also just off of the turnaround that the Celtics had in the middle of the season. They were a few games under 500, and literally me and Chris Forsberg were sitting on the set talking about, hey, all right, maybe it's time to tank the season. We're looking towards the draft, and they really stuck with what Ime Udoka was preaching in that locker room, and it took him all the way to the NBA Finals. So just like Forsberg said, I'm surprised that he didn't get more votes or more consideration for actual Coach of the Year in the NBA, because he was my pick, to be quite honest.
Well, he wins in a landslide here because your Coach of the Year is Ime Udoka, receiving over 80% of the votes. The Toolbag. Yes, the Toolbag of the Year. Here are your nominees: Kyrie Irving, Aaron Rodgers, and Rob Manfred. Listen, I know who's going to win this because everyone hates Kyrie Irving. But let me make a case for Aaron Rodgers. Between the tattoos and the engagement.
I thought you liked the tattoos.
And the clay. I don't mind the tattoos, but it's just, Aaron Rodgers, you guys.
Tattoo in you get your first tattoo over 40.
Well, he's not over 40.
It's not because somebody died. All right.
and you get 7 tattoos all in the same spot. Like, you couldn't decide. So I'm just getting
you're getting it for the express reason that it needs to be explained to other people.
Let me blow your mind. Aaron Rodgers is Kyrie Irving in the NFL. Searching for something, angering everybody, just trying so hard, Chris Forsberg, to make everybody around him happy. They are one in the same. They don't know what they want, and so they drive us all bananas. But Kyrie Irving, I believe, is probably going to be the runaway winner, isn't it, Forsberg? Or isn't
I mean, it is. I mean, I can't believe this is a category when the winner, the Giles odds makers would not take any money on this because it would be such a slam dunk for Kyrie Irving. And just as you said, Trenni, I must have, every time he comes up on this program, I sit there and say, I hope he finds his joy, whatever the joy he's looking for, but we have no idea what that is and where he'll find it or if he'll find it. But you know what? Reflecting on that little come back to Boston and all that, it was kind of fun. Maybe I'd feel differently if the Celtics didn't win in the playoffs, but certainly I don't know what's next for Kyrie, but it'll be a little bit of crazy.
I feel like Kyrie wins this category, but I almost feel like he would want to win this category in a weird way with him coming to Boston. I feel like he almost kind of feeds off of the fact that he annoys people. So I would give him the award. I could see him being the runaway winner. I don't know about him and Aaron Rodgers being neck and neck. Aaron Rodgers doesn't bother me that much. I mean, the tattoos, whatever, that's his business.
And he's still an MVP candidate.
Yeah.
It's not your quarterback, Amina.
That's true. Also not my
quarterback. If he was your quarterback and he was, eating clay and jumping off cliffs and then not winning Super Bowls.
Yeah. Hey, shout out Rob Manfred, because he had some great comments during the lockout that were just those we used many times on this show. I'm also excited to see Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant figure it out in Brooklyn, because you know what? I think that's what everyone deserves. It's just figure it out. You guys want to put this together? Figure it out.
By the way, the winner is Kyrie Irving.
Oh,
he
minus
waved,
10,000 Forsberg.
He waved some sage, and he knew he was going to take the Sporty home. Which player deserves a contract extension the most, and who is the most important for their team to keep? You got Jaylen Brown, David Pastrnak, Xander Bogaerts, or Rafael Devers. Giles, you got to go with Devers here, right? Is it even a discussion?
I guess you could say it's a discussion, but yeah, I'm going Rafael Devers, because what are the Red Sox? Okay, and I've sort of resigned to the fact that Xander Bogaerts might not be back next season. Fine, whatever. Near 30 years old. Rafael Devers, though, is your foundational piece. If you don't have any foundational pieces, what are the Red Sox? What are they? I mean, everyone wants to compare them. Yes, I know everyone keeps making that comparison, and I hate doing it. That's really what it might become, though, in a couple of years if you don't have Rafael Devers. So you need to pay him, and he deserves the money.
Does Tatum need Brown?
I don't think Tatum needs Brown, but I don't see out of all those players right there, I agree with you. Rafael Devers has to be the one that the Red Sox pay. 25 years old, production is up. We've been talking about it for the last 6 days. And the fact that everybody's asking the Red Sox, what are you guys doing? What is taking so long to get this deal done between the Red Sox and Devers? So I think people have concerns about Jaylen Brown possibly wanting to go somewhere else. I don't see that, to be honest, especially with how far the Celtics got this past season. So it has to be Devers. Just pay that man. Pay him.
Yeah, and to me, David Pastrnak, while it would be nice to have him, I think the Bruins are in such an abyss right now that even if you have him, you're not going to win. But if you have Rafael Devers, if you have, I think Jaylen Brown's probably second on that list. If you have those two guys on your team, you're in a much better position to win a title. The winner, do we have a winner in this category? We do. Our winner is...
The Sporty.
It's supposed to be Rafael Devers.
I think it's Rafael Devers. It's coming. I'm pretty sure it is. There he is.
All right.
It's our winner. Not even close. I mean, honest to gosh, if you're watching John Henry from your compound on Nantucket or wherever it is that you're hiding out right now, why? Just open the purse strings. You have a soccer team. You bought the Penguins. You bought an entire team, for goodness sake. Just pay this guy who is going to bring more money. Guess what? He's going to bring more money to your franchise. Yeah. All right, we're going to wrap up the Sporties with the argument across the year, across various shows and various topics. We have compiled some of the best arguments over the past year. Take a look.
Your point was the number one reason.
No, I didn't say it was number one. I never said it was number one.
Let me finish. The number one reason they lost the finals.
I'm not going to let you finish because you're saying something that's a lie. I never said it was number one.
You said something crazy, that they lost the finals because of Mark. They haven't won because Marcus Smart.
That's a reason they haven't won anything. His leadership.
That's a reason. Well, that's crazy.
It's not the reason. It's a reason. You got the wrong article. You got the wrong article.
You got the wrong statement.
Words matter, Michael. Words matter. Wrong article. Not the.
I reject it. I reject it.
Not the.
It's just a foolish.
I think we're in the middle just playing out the string with another old coach who the game has passed him by. Like the Dolphins played out the string with Shula, and the Cowboys played out the string with Landry, and the Steelers played out the string with Noel. They still won some games. They were over 500 mostly. Few playoff appearances here, but it wasn't special. They weren't ahead of the curve.
Oh, my God.
They were behind the curve, and this is what we're doing. And in 1 or 2 years, it'll be over, and you'll see that that's what it was.
Could you stop? It's
and
not
if
a good
I'm wrong,
comp.
I'm wrong. Hey,
it's not a good comp to those guys. If Tom Brady were here, you wouldn't be saying this.
Because Brady would be winning in games and covering up for him like he was 4 years ago.
So your problem, Mike, is that Tom Brady's not here. And join the club. Yes, I want Tom Brady to be here too. But, he's not walking through the door. That ship has sailed.
The question is, now, who would you rather have?
Matt Ryan.
You're incorrect. You haven't given me a single reason why. You told me he won back-to-back winning seasons 10 years ago. Congratulations. You're telling me he won an MVP. 7 years ago. Congratulations.
We're talking about Matt Ryan, right? The 14 years, we've got 10 seasons of over 4,000 yards. His durability, he's only missed 3 games in his entire career. This season alone, he's had 4 fourth-quarter comebacks, if you're talking about situational football.
Nothing the Celtics have done points to they're looking to trade Marcus Smart. That is you've been on that crusade for I don't know how many years, 5 years.
I've been on
now the fact that they get Malcolm Brogdon. Now maybe this is the opportunity to trade Smart. Every move. Here's my final word. Every move the Celtics make is not a step closer to trading Marcus
I'm not
Smart.
saying that at all. I really like the roster. I like the 10 that they have right now.
Now he's all caught.
So I might be partial because it happened on my show, but that Tomasi Perry argument was really good. But it's tough to vote against Holly and Gasper because that was a true both screaming at each other back and forth argument.
I remember watching that.
Because we have the final say in this one.
I was watching that live and I was like, when we start leaning into the TV, like what's going to happen next? Because they were really going after each other. And I give it to Holly because Gasper starts talking about the structure of a sentence and making grammatical errors and everything else. I know, but that's where he lost me, just like that.
Like, I have to go Gasper and Holly as well. I mean, just watching, I didn't see it live, but even just watching it while playing it back, I was like, well, this is kind of spicy. I don't know what's going to happen here, how this is going to end, but that clear winner in arguments this past year, for sure.
All right, the winner is Michael Holly and Chris Gasper. Congratulations,
nice work,
guys, on the argument of the year. Your Sporty is in the mail, and we'll send you, I don't know, we'll get you like a cup of coffee and a seltzer water as your in-house award.